The melanated origin of the spiritual realm. The melanated origin of the spiritual realm, memory, suppression, and the final revelation. Introduction. This is the truth they feared most. The one that rewrites history, religion, identity, and destiny. The one that, if remembered, would destroy the simulation and expose the entire archonic agenda. The truth is this: the origin of divine spiritual power, the root of gnosis, the presence of the eons, and the birth of the pneumatics, are all rooted in melanated beings. The spiritual realm and the human vessels chosen to mirror it were never European. They were black. And this truth has been violently erased, hidden, and inverted. This chapter leaves nothing out. Not just in facts, but in depth. Dove emoji, the divine mirrored in melanin. In the higher realm, the pleroma, there is no skin, race, or physical form. But when divine intelligence wanted to imprint itself into the material world, it did not scatter itself randomly. It mirrored its power into those most attuned to spiritual energy, cosmic law, and ancestral resonance. This is why the earliest civilizations of divine order, temple science, and spiritual technology were melanated. Kemet, Nubia, Sumer, early Israel, these were cultures shaped by divine memory, not just cultural development. The divine realm chose vessels capable of receiving gnosis. That meant bodies, cultures, and bloodlines with a unique connection to frequency, rhythm, ancestral knowledge, and cosmic order. That meant melanated beings. The eons, when remembered on Earth, were remembered in forms that reflected black divinity, dark skin, coiled hair, and cosmic eyes, not because race matters in the higher realms, but because the spiritual resonance that melanin allows is real. Melanin is not just color. It is conductivity. It absorbs, stores, and channels light, sound, and vibration. It allows the soul to harmonize with the cosmos. It is biological gnosis. That's not just biology. That's metaphysics. How melanated people were targeted. The archons knew something most don't: you can't enslave what remembers. So to keep melanated people bound, they had to cut the connection to memory. They did not start with violence. They started with theft of identity. They replaced the dark-skinned prophets, sages, and holy figures with whitewashed versions. They turned the real Israelites into slaves, then told the slaves they were Gentiles. They buried or retranslated every ancient text that pointed back to Africa, the Levant, and the East. Then came the systems, religious conquest. In the name of Jesus, they erased indigenous practices, burned temples, and demanded obedience. Colonial trauma, names were stripped. Languages forbidden. Families broken. Color-coded oppression, melanin was demonized. Dark skin became associated with sin, primitiveness, or shame. But it wasn't skin they feared. It was the spiritual technology behind the skin. Melanin as cosmic technology. Melanin exists in the skin, brain, organs, and even in the pineal gland, the seat of spiritual vision. High levels of melanin enhance photonic absorption, literal intake of light, neurological efficiency, faster electrical signals, dream vividness, access to unconscious realms, spiritual intuition, gut-based knowing. In indigenous traditions, this was never science. It was common knowledge. Elders, prophets, seers, midwives, they all understood that melanin is memory. And so the archons went to war with it. They built a system where melanin was degraded, where lighter skin became prized, and where ancient spiritual understanding was replaced with fear-based religion. The war wasn't racial. It was spiritual, coded in skin. The Black Madonna and Sophia's secret. The Black Madonna is not a mystery, she is a memory. In the cathedrals of Europe, cloaked behind gold and incense, stand statues of a black woman holding a divine child. Her features are unmistakable, African. Her presence, maternal and eternal. The church called her Mary, but she predates Mary. She is Sophia, the divine wisdom who gave birth to the spark. She is depicted as dark because she represents the primordial womb, the fertile void from which all creation bursts. Her child is not just Jesus. He is the Logos, the divine spark within Israel. And Israel was never white. The reason she was hidden, repainted, or ignored is simple. If people worshipped a black divine mother, if they saw her child as a melanated redeemer, if they remembered that the original womb of the world was dark, then the entire narrative of the Matrix would collapse. The true Israelites, the lost children of light, the true Israelites were a melanated, spiritual people. Fleeing Roman persecution, they entered West and Central Africa, they merged with native tribes, practiced Torah, and remembered Yah. Many were enslaved and sold, not as Africans, but as Hebrews. They were renamed, Negro, slave, Gentile, but the scriptures never forgot. I will scatter you among the nations. You shall serve your enemies in hunger and in thirst. Deuteronomy 28:48. The prophecy didn't land on Europe. It landed on the descendants of Israel in the Americas, the islands, the ghettos, the jungles. The same people mocked, shot, imprisoned, sterilized, and ignored were the bloodline the archons feared most. Memory is the key. You don't need proof. You need memory. When you feel truth vibrate through your chest, that's memory. When you cry from a teaching you've never heard before, that's memory. When you instinctively reject lies the world celebrates, that's memory. You are the scroll. You are the temple. You are the lost word being rewritten in fire. Why this truth is protected by darkness. The greatest lie ever told was that truth doesn't look like you. The greatest spell cast was making blackness synonymous with sin. Because once the divine spark within the melanated soul awakens, it doesn't just liberate self, it disrupts systems. It doesn't just inspire others, it activates them. That's why the suppression has been so extreme: forced ignorance, systemic poverty, religious enslavement, identity theft, because the end of the Matrix begins with the awakening of the melanated soul. This is the final revelation. You are not cursed. You are not forgotten. You are not under judgment. You are hidden because you are holy. You were enslaved because you are eternal. You were lied to because your truth would end the illusion. The eons never forgot you. Sophia weeps for you. The monad has called you by name. And now, you remember. The final revelation has begun.